Yes, YouTube, what's happening, people? We're just loading up Facebook and Instagram for the live stream, and then we will get going very shortly. Cool. Let's get Instagram going. Excuse me. Give me a minute. Sweet, we're rolling. We're on it. Guys watching this on the replay, give me a hashtag replay so I know how many people watch it on the replay. Replay, please. Can't fucking speak today. And we will get rolling very shortly. We're live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. So also, you guys watching this on Instagram and Facebook, if you don't have me on YouTube, head over to YouTube, type in Type1Tom and go and subscribe to my channel, please. I'm going to be creating a lot more content to stick on there. So just someone let me know that you can hear me, you can see me okay, please. We will get going in about 60 seconds. I've got a cracker lined up for you guys today. A lot of you are going to probably nod your heads because you're going to be able to relate so much to what I'm going to say. Cool. We'll give it another minute or so. We'll let it populate. Let some people jump on Facebook. Let some people jump on Instagram and on YouTube. What's happening? We're populating now a little bit. Cool. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to have a bit of fun on this one because, oh man, some of these things get right on my tits. But hey, that's the whole point in doing this one. It's the whole point in doing this one. It's going to be super relatable for you guys. So, right. Let's hit record and then we can get going. Cool. Okie doke. 3, 2, 1. Yes, team, what's happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Type 1 Movement podcast. Today, I've got an absolute corker lined up for you guys. And you know what? A lot of you listening to this and watching this are going to sit there fucking nodding your heads going, yep, I've heard that. Yep, I've heard that. And it's going to be 11 diabetes myths that need to get fucked, mate. There's no room for these myths in our community. Yeah, there's no room for these. And if you hear one of these and you actually believed it, I'm going to break down why it's nonsense as well. There's a lot that I could list, like more than 11, but these are some of the best ones. And this has come from inspiration from speaking. So I speak to a lot of type 1 diabetics. Yeah, a lot of type 1s. And these are just things that I've heard over the years that have been like, man, it gets fucking right on my tits that this sort of stuff's being spread out. But we'll get into these very shortly. First of all, as always, please leave me a rating and a review on the podcast app, as it really does help me reach more type 1 diabetics and positively impact our community. Also, whatever device or platform, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever it is, whatever your poison is, whatever you're listening to it on, please screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories and tag me at type1_Tom so I can reach out and say thank you. So we're going to get straight into it without any delay on these because, like I say, these are some of the things that I've heard over the years, and some of them are just comical. Like, honestly, mate, some of them are comical, but some of them are serious. Some of them will seriously fuck some people's head up, some type 1's heads up. Yeah, so I'm going to explain what they are and why they just need to get fucked. Yeah, they just need to get fucked. And hopefully, me and you will be able to spread the word around that some of these, well, all these I'm going to speak about are bullshit. And you know what? The most frustrating thing is that some of these have come from so-called professionals as well, that I've heard. And that's quite scary, yeah? I know we like to have a laugh on these shows, team, like me and you. I like to inform you, educate you, give you actionable stuff, but some of these are going to be pretty serious. Like, it's scary to hear that some of these are being preached to other type 1 diabetics, yeah? So, without fucking further ado, let's get into it. The first one is the biggest one, and this gets fucking right on my tits. This really, really does trigger me, and it's that insulin causes weight gain. That's the first one. Insulin causes weight gain. I will tell you straight up now, it fucking doesn't. We just work the same as other like non-diabetics. This is the only way that you will gain weight. You ready? You ready for this? You fucking eat too much. You over consume on your calories, yeah? So I'm going to break it down, a little bit of a science lesson. Let's say I can maintain my weight on 2,000 calories a day. I go into a surplus of calories and I decide to eat 2,500 calories a day. I've got 500 calories there extra that I don't really need. What happens? My body will store it as fat. So where does insulin come into this? Well, insulin's job is to take nutrients, obviously glucose and other vitamins and minerals, and store them in your body. Yeah. If you're giving your body too many calories, insulin is responsible for taking those calories. This is a brief, it is broken down further, but those calories and storing them somewhere. So where does it need to store? If all your cells in your body are full, it can only handle 2,000 calories, and you've got an extra 500 calories in there. Yeah, insulin is going to go and store it as fat, but it's not the insulin that's causing the fat gain, the weight gain. It's you eating too much. So that's one myth that needs to die. Insulin and carbs cause weight gain. No, they fucking don't. Overeating on too many calories causes weight gain. That's the first one. And this is the shit. This is one of the serious ones, team, because this is the stuff that causes like diabulimia. People, they're scared of taking their insulin injections, or they decide not to give their insulin because they want to lose weight. Mate, if you're listening to this, do not ever do that, because it's so fucking dangerous. It's so dangerous. If you're here, you're in my network, you're in my community, you've got me on socials, you listen to my podcast, I do not want to see this ever happen to you. And if it's happened to you and you're going through it, good, stay mentally strong. If you've been through it, fucking good on you. But trust me, team, insulin does not cause weight gain. Eating too much does. I could do a whole podcast episode on that. I'm super passionate about that topic, yeah, because it's one of the things that I help people with in terms of understanding calories and how insulin works. But I will say this on point number one, the myth that needs to get fucked royally on this one: insulin does not cause weight gain. Number two, you should only take a certain amount of insulin. You should only be taking a certain amount of insulin. Man, this is frustrating. We all need, in terms of insulin, what we fucking personally need. My requirements will be different to your requirements. They'll be different to your mate who's type 1. They'll be different to your grandma or granddad who's type, like, we're all different. We're all different. And this I've heard before from people going to their specialists, their endo appointments, their diabetic reviews, and they'll be like, oh, you're taking a lot of background insulin. What? How can a specialist say that to you? How can, in comparison to who? I'm taking a lot of basal insulin, background insulin, in comparison to who? Who the fuck are you comparing me to? Because we all have different requirements. So don't let anyone ever tell you that you can only take a certain amount of insulin. You're taking too much, you're taking too little, you're not taking, do you know what I mean? We all have our own personal requirements. Yeah, we all have our own personal requirements. Another thing that I've heard this a couple of times, not too often, but I've heard it a couple of times, is that you can eat protein when you're doing a basal test. What? When you are testing your basal rates, whether that be on pens, injections, or a pump, you need to be in a completely fasted state, which means no rapid acting insulin on board. Yeah, your last bolus has to be like 4 hours ago, ideally, and also no food on board. Yeah, we know that carbs convert to glucose, that will mess the test up, but also protein. Protein will break down into glucose. So if you're running a basal test and you think, oh, I'm a bit hungry, I'll have a bit of chicken. No, it's going to mess your test up because it will convert down into glucose. Yeah. So that's another thing. You shouldn't be eating anything. You should be drinking water, but nothing that will impact your test. So nothing that will potentially cause a spike in your glucose levels if you are running a basal rate test. Yeah. Another thing is, and I think this is becoming more common now, praise the fucking Lord, thank God, this one's becoming more popular, that it is nonsense, and that is protein and fat don't impact glucose levels. I've just told you then protein will turn into glucose, so that will impact glucose levels, right? Also, fat will impact your glucose levels as well, yeah, because it will it will kind of delay the response of how fast carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. Yeah. So protein and fat will impact glucose levels. Think this is becoming more popular now because there's a lot of type 1s realizing that, hey, I've eaten some protein, I've not given a bolus of rapid acting insulin or given any insulin, I got a spike. Well, you know what? There you're seeing firsthand that protein does have an impact on glucose levels, and so does fat. Another one what I've heard, and this does really fucking frustrate me, is that you test too often. Man, like, listen, if you want to test 50 times, 100 times a day because you want to know what's going on with your blood glucose, if you want to scan your arm that many times a day, finger prick, look at your Dexcom, whatever it is, you go and do it, mate, because that's just showing that you care and you want to know what your levels are. Yes, after a bit, you will start to chill out when you get a feel for what's going on, but there's no such thing as testing too often. There's no other way for you to know what's going on with your glucose levels if you're not testing. So don't let anyone, specialist or what have you, tell you that you're testing your glucose levels too often. They kind of say this because they think some people are going to get obsessed. But you know what? And I always stand back to this. Yeah. You know what? I always do go back to this. And that's that when we are wanting to improve our glucose levels, yeah, or I think in a sense, you have to get like borderline obsessive with it for a bit. For a bit, you don't need to be completely obsessive with it all the time, but it's got to be a priority. It's got to be a big part of your life, because then eventually you can chill the fuck out on it a little bit because you've put the work in. Yeah, and if that will come from testing a lot. That's the only way you're going to know what's going on with your glucose levels. Yeah, so that's the other thing. You test too often. No, you don't. Test as much as you like. Yeah. And the next one is a good one. This is a good one. You can only eat a certain amount of carbs at one time in one meal in one sitting. What? No, that's not true. If you get your insulin correct, you can kind of eat as much as you want. There's sometimes, guys, that I've been out on a long ride. Yeah, I've done a lot of exercise, and I might eat 150 to 200 grams of carbs in a sitting, and my blood glucose levels will be fine. We'll get the insulin correct. Yeah. So that is nonsense. You can only eat a certain amount of carbs at one time. No, don't let anyone ever tell you that. It's nonsense. The next one is very basic, and this kind of does work to a degree, and it is something that we've probably all started on, and that's you need 1 unit of insulin per 10 grams of carbs. That is being told to a lot of type 1s, and it's not being told that, hey, this is a good starting point, right? But you're probably going to have to change it. Yeah, it's just being told that, yeah, just go and give 1 unit of insulin per 10 grams of carbs and you'll be sweet forever. You'll never have to change it. And then that's going to be the same for your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. No, we know that's not the case. We know that's not the case. It is normal to have different insulin requirements at different times of the day. Using myself as an example, I'm more like a 2 units of insulin per 10 grams of carbs with breakfast in the morning. Yeah, because I'm just resistant to insulin, or hormones are going. I get foot to floor, so I spike when I get up. Yeah, so we've got that. As we move on to sort of lunchtime for me, yes, I am 1 unit per 10 grams of carbs. But then when we get into evening, things are chilling out a little bit. I'm like 0.7, 0.8 of a unit per 10 grams of carbs. That's me. I don't want any of you guys to take and try this, because that's my personal thing. Yeah, that's my personal thing. I actually put out my ratios because I was asked on my Instagram story once. I put out my ratios once, and I had a response from someone because their insulin requirements were less than mine, like it was a competition. I didn't even respond. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, well done. I didn't even respond though, but that's what I thought. Yeah. So that being told, you need 1 unit of insulin per 10 grams of carbs. That is a great starting point. It's a very good starting point, yeah? And it's something I get my clients to start on, but you probably will have to tweak that. It's not just going to be 1 unit of insulin per 10 grams of carbs. Things are all over the place. Oh, but I've got to be 1 unit per 10 grams of carbs. No, you haven't. You're probably going to have to tweak it. The next one, this is something that I was told. This is something that I was told when I was diagnosed, yeah? This is a fucking golden one, this. You shouldn't give any insulin before you exercise. So let me, little story on this. It took me 3 or 4 months to step out my own way after being diagnosed, like 13, 14 years ago now, and actually go and exercise. Exercise was my life. I loved exercise, but I was so scared on what had happened to my glucose levels, and I just got them on track. I was like, fuck, I've got to go back to the gym and train. So I went back to the gym, I trained, and my blood sugar spiked. So I was like, what the hell? What am I going to do here? So I went in again, same thing happened again. I actually spoke to my DSN at the time, and she was like, right, well, whatever you do, just don't give yourself any insulin. And I was like, what? So I was like, I'm spiking, insulin brings me down. I'm just going to try a unit. So I just tried a unit before my gym workout, lifting weights. And you know what? I spiked, but not as heavily. So the next time I tried 2 units. And I think that kind of kept me in range. But if I would have listened to what my DSM would have said, don't give any insulin, how would I have stayed in range when I was lifting? I think this is becoming more apparent now. I'm not saying, team, don't listen to specialists or your DSNs or your endos. I'm just saying some of this shit is shit. It is bullshit, yeah? So I was told you shouldn't give any insulin before exercise. Now, later on, 13, 14 years down the line, I know that if I lift weights or do anything intense that's going to spike me, I need to give myself some insulin. Yeah, I need to give myself some insulin. A lot of my clients find the same on that as well, but that's only come through, testing and trying different things. The next one out of these 11 diabetes myths that need to get fucked. The next one is, if your HbA1c is a low number, you have great control. Well, not really, because HbA1c is a 3-month average. So you might be having a few highs and a lot of lows. Hey, we feel like shit when we're high, but when we're low, we feel like shit as well, right? So let's say that you're having a lot of lows, but your HbA1c is great. It's in the 5.5 to 6.5%. But then you look at your time in range and it's under 70% because you're having that many lows, you're going out of your range. Well, that's not good control, is it? Yeah, so that's why, and I always say this, your A1C, your HbA1c, isn't the best marker of how well controlled your diabetes is. We need a mixture, and I'll be real with you now, we need a mixture of 3 things. One of them, yes, is your HbA1c, but the other one is your average glucose, and the other is your time in target range. I think this is becoming a bit more sort of known now, that time in range is a better indication of control than a low HbA1c. Yeah. So let's say we've got a HbA1c of 6%, but our time in target range is 40%. Yeah. For the 90 days. Well, that's not great, is it? You're obviously having a lot of lows. But let's say we've got a HbA1c of 6%. Yeah. And the time in target range is 75 to 80% over the 90 days. That's fucking great. Yeah. So we're taking the 2 different things. You're looking at averages as well, but we're taking those 2 things and combining them together. Yeah. So HbA1c doesn't always tell the bigger picture. So just bear that in mind, because we want to be feeling good at the end of the day. And that comes from spending more time in your target range. The next one is, you can't try different insulins. So a lot of people, when they've come and joined my program and I've chatted to them, have been like, right, well, my DSN or my endo, they stuck me on this sort of insulin and it's not really working for me. Yeah, let me give you some examples, right? We've got someone who's really, really active. They're not on a pump, yeah? And they're on, let's say they're on Lantus or they're on Tresiba, yeah? So they're dead active, they're on Lantus or Tresiba, and it's not working. They manage to take a certain amount that keeps them in range overnight, but then throughout the day, it's a bit too much because of that active, and it causes them so many hypos, and they're getting really tired of it. But then if they take a little bit off for the evening, what happens is, they wake up high, but they're in range throughout the day. Look at that scenario. In this case, what I recommend to clients is they go and try something that they can split evening and night. Yeah. So like Humulin or Levemir, because it's only in like 12 to 16 hours. Whereas this Lantus and Tresiba, you're looking at like over 28 or 24, 48 hours. That's why it's unadjustable. Obviously, hopefully this is making sense. But let's say you're started on Lantus like I was, or Tresiba. That doesn't mean that you need to stick to that insulin. You're the one that's out in the trenches controlling your diabetes. You're the one who's with you 24/7. You know what's going to be right for you. If you do a bit of education on different insulins, basal insulins, rapid acting, and say, hey, I think that might work a bit better for me, then go and speak to your specialist and say, hey, doing a little bit of research. These are the issues that I'm encountering. I think I'd like to try X, whatever insulin it is. They can't say, no, you've got to stay on what you're on, because it's your condition at the end of the day. You're the one that's in control, yeah? You're the one that's in control. I've had that with clients quite a bit. Yeah, quite a bit. So that's not the case. You can try different types of insulin if you think it's going to be more beneficial to your control, yeah? And the last one, number 11 is Fiasp insulin. So that's a rapid-acting insulin that works faster than normal. I'm doing the 2 little quotation quotes here, team, the guys on the podcast. Fiasp works faster than your normal Nova Rapid. So Fiasp works straight away. That's something I've heard quite a lot. Now, with some people, it works pretty fucking quick, enough to like 50% cut the pre-bolus time down. But some will still need a pre-bolus, even though it works quicker than normal rapid acting. 9 times out of 10, you still have to pre-bolus with that. Yeah. So those are the 11. Let's do a quick recap. Insulin causes weight gain. No, it fucking doesn't. I've explained to you, and hopefully now, if you ever thought insulin caused weight gain, hopefully now, team, you understand that it doesn't. You know how weight gain is caused. The next one, you should only take a certain amount of insulin. We know that's nonsense. You can eat protein when basal testing. Just told you that's bullshit. Protein and fat don't impact glucose levels. They do. It's becoming more known now, which is awesome. You test too often. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you test too often. Just means you give a shit. You can only eat a certain amount of carbs at one time. We know that's nonsense. We've all got different carb requirements as well. You need 1 unit of insulin per 10 grams of carbs. It's a great starting point, but chances are it's going to have to be adjusted, mate. I'm not going to stick with that forever. You shouldn't give any insulin before exercise. Told you my story, what I end up doing, and hey ho, it's worked. It's worked for me, and it's worked for a lot of clients as well. If your HbA1c is low, you have great control. Not really, mate. We know that timing target is a bigger indication of control than your A1c. You can't try different insulins. It's your control at the end of the day. Do a bit of research. Go back and forward with your team. If they're a good team, have a good chat with them. They will understand where you're coming from. If you want to try different insulins, you think they'll benefit you more. And the next is FIASP insulin works straight away. Still probably going to have to pre-bolus, mate. Team, that is it. That is it. Hopefully, there's some more myths than this that do need to get fucked. But hopefully, if you ever believed any of these are true, you now know that they are not. They are not. And like I say, this was inspired by, I speak to so many type 1s and they come into my program and they've got a few beliefs. And after a few weeks, they're like, you know what? I understand why what I thought before joining your program was bullshit. And I understand why now. And I love that. That's like, hey ho, if you don't get anything else, you fucking understood that. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a big, big thing. So team, as we close out, like I always say, please leave me a rating and a review if you got value from this episode. Also, what I want you guys to do as well is do go and share this one. If you're watching this, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, you're listening to the podcast, go and share it, because especially the insulin causing weight gain, there's a lot of these myths in here that can really fuck with type 1's minds. Yeah, it can really fuck with some of our minds. Yeah. So I want you guys to share it. Help me spread the word that some of this nonsense is being spread around, and hopefully we can get them right fucked off out of our community. Yeah. So, team, I want to say thank you very much for giving me your ears today during this episode and listening. As always, I love you. Peace. Guys on Facebook, guys on Instagram, do we have any questions? I'm going to stay on for a minute just to answer any questions that you guys have. And we'll quick look through YouTube, see if we've got any questions, and Facebook. So we're all good there. You guys on Instagram? Quick scroll back through. No. So I'm going to thank you guys. Thank the guys listening on the podcast. Thank you very much for watching this live. And as always, team, until the next live, have a great day. Peace.